Hello, good people. Coming to you today for a special live. A very special live. First of all, happy Single Day Mayo. Let's start with that. Okay. Happy Single Day Mayo. I hope you are enjoying it on this it is beautiful here today. Absolutely beautiful. Just went and enjoyed a Single Day Mayo with my receptionist. Had a great time. Blocked out some time so we can enjoy this fabulous day. So let's just talk real quick. We need to have a talk real fast. I was made aware of something on YouTube today. And it was basically a gentleman kind of writing out what had recently happened to him and asking questions. So it was a YouTuber basically putting a side by side on what the gentleman wrote, right? So I'm going to wrap this up in a nice little bow. I want to paraphrase so I can get to it. Okay. So the gentleman wrote basically that he's been married to his wife for several years. I guess I would assume more than 20 years because their children are between 20 and 30 with the exception of one teenager. So they've been together for about 20 or 30 years. And one of their older children, they have 5 children together. So this man and this woman are married, have 5 children together. There's only one child left that is in high school or is a teenager, right? Still living in the house. Okay, cool. They have 5 kids. One of the older kids went and got the ancestry thing that you go get. They went and got the whole ancestry test completed. But when it came back, it said that she was not linked to him, which this guy is under the impression, that he and his wife had all 5 of these children together. Okay, follow me. So the daughter goes to get the ancestry test. The ancestry results come back and say that she is not linked to any of his family in her ancestry test. So, okay, what's that about? Like, she asked if he was her dad. And he said, as far as I know, this is odd. So he says, okay, well, let's see, about the other kids. So, mind you, it's 5 kids. 4, because they're older, 4 of the older kids go get tested. Not only is this man not the father of all 4 of these young ladies, all 3 of them have different fathers. Okay? Are you following my story? Mind you, he has been married to his wife and was under the impression that all of these children were his, all 5 of them. He just found out that not only are all 4 of them not his, that 3 of them have different fathers. Well, technically all 4 of them have different fathers. They've, again, been married this whole time, thinking he went on to say, I thought I was in a really great marriage. We don't argue very often. We spend time together. However, I do spend a lot of time at work because, of course, this is a hardworking Black man. And he was completely unaware. So he confronts the wife. And let me back up a little bit. So come to find out, they tested the younger daughter. All 5 of the children are not his. None of these children that he thought he had with his wife none of them are his. None of these young ladies are his. Okay? He confronts his wife. He asked her, like, what this is about, because at this point, all of them have had DNA tests. They're not his. She says, oh, the tests are faulty. That's not true. Bruh. Let's just go and get to it. I had so many issues with this story. So many issues with this story. First of all, the understanding or agreement, from what I understood, and this is just from my opinion and my perspective, was this was a marriage under the assumption and agreement that it was monogamous. One, he was also under the understanding that all 5 of these children were his because they were conceived during their marriage and he was not told otherwise. So not only did this woman have whoever knows how many affairs, she was definitely raw dogging things. Could have put his life at risk, conceived children with 4 other men in her marriage, and did not tell him that these were not his children. He has been financially, emotionally providing for these children that are not his, that he was unaware of, that weren't his. And, I just thought, like, what? Church finger, what? I guess my biggest thing would be, because he was essentially saying, like, if it was just one, he could have forgiven that. But all 5 kids are not his. And all this time they've been married and he had no clue. Now, do we know that there were signs? Of course they were. What they were, we'll never know. But they're signs. They're signs. But like he said, also, he was gone a lot for work. So who knows, what was happening in the interim. This is my biggest issue with this. And whereas if I am the man in this position, I cannot stay. I cannot stay because you willfully deceived me. And when I say willfully, I mean you willfully got pregnant, had this child, having sex with other men. And you did it 5 times. That's just at a minimum. Okay, this is at a minimum. 5 children were resulted out of these. Who knows what the actual number was, right? Did it 5 times. You did not tell me that these were not my children. What is the word? You robbed the children of their opportunity for honesty and transparency so that they can make a choice on how they wanted to proceed with me being their father. Not to mention, you've allowed me, and thank you, you've allowed me to establish relationships with these children under the assumption that they were my biological children. You have now challenged my relationship with them, their relationship with me, their opportunities with whoever their fathers actually are. You've deprived these men from opportunities with their biological children. It's so many people involved and immersed and that have consequentially been hurt and traumatized as a result of your deceitfulness and your selfishness. No. This is one of those things that rocks the foundation of a relationship. How do you come back from this? How do you come back for lying, deceiving, manipulating for 20, 30 years? How do you come back from having a family that's not yours? Emotionally, psychologically, financially, caring for a family that is not yours. How do you come back from that in a relationship? Is there ever a time that you would be able to trust or make yourself vulnerable to continue to invest. And the way that he was, and I give him so much credit for, like, because he just described how he did, they didn't want to tell the younger daughter anything. They wanted to, wait and just see how to handle it because she's still in, a teenager and in the house. And he wasn't sure if they could bounce back. He was still interested in trying to figure out if they could work because they spent their entire lives together. They built a life, a family, a legacy. Well, at least he thought, together. How do you bounce back from all of that being a lie? Right? All of your children that you thought were yours are not yours. The marriage you thought you had, you do not. The woman you were under the assumption that you married and that was behaving in this way, it was not. How do you bounce back from that? I'm going to tell you something. I think that in every relationship, there has to be a boundary that cannot be crossed. And I mean, all of those boundaries are different for, everyone. Everyone has their own. You cannot cross this because once you do, I can't come back. Does that make sense? Like, once your partner crosses this particular line, I am not able to bounce back. I will not be able to proceed, right? That's abuse for me. Once you cross this line, I am not able to proceed. I'm not able to proceed. I can forgive you in time, but proceeding in this relationship is a no-go for me, dog. There is a line. And I know, because I talked about this a while back, and we're going to get, I'm going to do lives on the cheating thing, but I don't like when people throw out random, like, if you cheat on me, I'm going to leave. Unless you absolutely know that, just don't even throw it out there. Just be quiet. Just leave it alone. Because there are a lot of things, like you said, and I'm not going to say, there are most times where we don't know what we're going to do until we get there. And truthfully so, I don't ever want to be in that scenario. However, those are one of those scenarios where I can't go forward. That's not whether I want to or not. I cannot. That is a cannot for me. I cannot move forward if there is physical, mental, like psychological abuse. I can't. Sexual abuse. I can't. That is my absolute hard and fast line. Right? That line is different for different folks. What I see in this, it's not even an example, it's somebody's real life, apparently, is there were so many lines crossed. There were so many violations. There were so many snatches of edges and violations of vulnerabilities, and it was so many people violated. It was so many people hurt and deceived behind the will, intention, and desires of one person. No, that's a no for me, dog. When do you know when it's time to say, church finger, I'm going to excuse myself? How do you know when it's time? That is an individualized answer. But you have to know what your hard and fast are. There has to be a hard and fast. And listen, and you said it, Alicia, when I was watching this, I was disgusted. I was just so disgusted. Outside of continuing to lie even after you get caught, because that's a whole thing for me, you weren't going to get caught. You were just going to let this man die, believing this family was his, and it wasn't. You were going to let him live this life under the assumption that all of these children and this marriage was what he thought it was. Absolutely not. You thought you weren't going to get caught. Now you're caught. And you are really give it, bruh, give it up. There's just a point where I believe that, we come to, or we should come to at least, that says, you know what? You right. You right. I fucked up. You right. Let me just run it down. Let me run it down to you. I did this. I'm caught. There is no, I didn't even integrity, but if we're going to use that word, there is not even any integrity in that. She still proceeded to lie even further, bruh. The narcissism involved. I can't. Like, the level of lack of compassion, the level and lack of consideration, the disrespect, the gall, the how dare you? Like, it's just like, how do you deceive someone for the entirety of your damn marriage? Not that it doesn't happen. Let's be clear, y'all. Not that things like this don't happen. Not that there aren't women who lie and tell a man, or let a man go on believing that a child is his that's not his. Not that this doesn't happen. That shit is disgusting. It's disgusting. It's dishonorable. It's disrespectful. That absolutely abuses the power you have as a woman in bringing life into this world. That's disgusting. It's disgusting. Like, period. Taking away someone's choice. I'm not at all saying on his end, I absolutely believe there had to have been signs and all of that. Right. Cool. However, bruh, she had an agreement, she had a responsibility and a role in this marriage to be transparent and to be faithful, monogamous. Hell, not for nothing. Once you got pregnant, can you at least say, hey, of course they're not getting paternity tests because they're married. So now we got to get paternity tests because we're married? I'm going to read some of the comments because I'm disgusted. For her to keep lying after getting caught yes, it is another violation. It's violation after violation after violation. We're not even going to talk about how she violated her children, how she took away their choice, how she took away their ability to be engaged with a family that actually biologically belongs to them. We're not even gonna, okay? When your soul is hurt, listen, it's special places in hell for people like that. That could have been a breaking point for that man, and it could have ended very badly for all parties. Absolutely. Something in her past must have triggered the deceit. Let me just say something. I have compassion for folks. I do. Do I work with people who, because all of us in our own individual lives have been both victims and perpetrators, right? All of us. All of us have hurt people we loved. All of us have hurt people we care a lot about. All of us have done things that we are not proud of. All of us have done things that we had to apologize for. All of us have done things that we have to take accountability for. And all of us have done things that we don't want people to know about, right? Because we're disgusted with ourselves. All of us. Cool. I think that it is something to be said about someone who continues to do this over time and involves so many people. I also think that it is something to be said for us to eventually not own up, right? And say, hey, because the compassion is lost when lack of accountability is taken. We know that, right? It's hard for me to have compassion for you when you refuse to take accountability for yourself. It becomes very difficult for me to care more about you than you care about yourself, right? That becomes very difficult for me. It's very difficult when you violated someone this much, this often, this intensely. What has to be said about that? I'm sure there are things that have impacted the way that this woman has behaved, the choices that she's made. I can't imagine what those things are. Like, I really do think of the part of like, how do you have, because this requires some serious courage for trying to be PC here. Some serious balls to have that many affairs, to lie to your husband and lie to your children, and possibly lie to whoever these gentlemen are that who may or may not even know that these are their children. Lie to yourself. Keep lying over time. Not even allowing yourself the space or safety to own your truth and be transparent. That has to be a heavy burden to hold, but also a chosen burden, right? There are burdens we choose. There's suffering that we choose. There is suffering that influences our choices, and there is suffering that we chose. This is a chosen burden. This is chosen. For whatever the reason. Do I have, excuse me. Okay, one second. Excuse me. Do I have compassion for her in the space of like, man, people do some fucked up shit, and by the time they realize it's fucked up, there's nothing left to save but themselves, if they can. So I'm not going to say I don't have compassion for that. I'm also not going to say that if this woman, and I'm thinking, I want to think about, what if this woman showed up in my office and wanted to bare her soul and process this, and what would that be like? Could I have compassion for her? Yeah, I have compassion for her now. Could I have consideration for her? Yes, I have that now. Could I have non-judgment? Yeah, it would be challenging. I think it would be challenging. I think if I hadn't heard his part of it, if she just showed up, I think it would be much easier. Because y'all, what I've learned is this, and I went hard in the paint, right? And so I want to round this off with this. People endure a lot, especially Black folks. We endure a lot. The amount of pain, suffering, anguish, hurt, trauma that we endure and experience on a daily basis is unfathomable. Everything from the looks that you get, to the microaggressions, to the passive aggressive experience, to the absurdly aggressive experience, to the unnecessary deaths and racism and white supremacy and privilege and all of the things that we endure, right? There's a space where we look for safety and we look forward to feeling safe. And that is our home. When we don't have those spaces, it takes away what little we have in the world where we have some power. That's traumatizing. That's hurtful. That's devastating, even. I cannot imagine what this young woman endured, but I can imagine what trauma she has introduced to all of her family as a result of her choices, as a result of her hurt, as a result of her dishonoring herself, as a result of her manipulation and unworthiness. It has traumatized, devastated so many innocent bystanders. Even if you don't consider her husband innocent, her children are. Her children absolutely are. Their grandparents are. You think of these men that have parents, that's their grandchildren, cousins, nieces, nephews. That's a violation that has taken away so much opportunity for them. Right? I want to read some of the comments. The only person she thought about was herself, which a lot of people are selfish like that. But do we condemn her or try to, for lack of better word, understand and offer therapy? What has she and what she endured? I think, of course, you offer therapy. I think the thing is this, though, and this is the way that I handle. This is my approach. I don't believe in letting people skim out of accountability. We don't skim out of accountability. In this life, these struggles continue, these kids kept happening and all of that because of secrets, because of lack of accountability, because of lack of being honest. Somebody, you being able to pull your own coattail and say, yo, either you need to be transparent or get out of this marriage. Pulling your coattail to say, hey, strap up, use a condom, protect yourself. Children were produced. Some point you have to pull the coattail and say, listen, let's be clear about what's happening here. I don't believe that therapy is a place where you sugarcoat shit. I don't do that. I don't believe in doing that. When people come to see me, we're talking about truths. Truths are subjective, but some of them are also very clear. She had choices. I think the thing is, if this person walks into my office, I want her to have a safe place to be transparent, because apparently she needed that. And it is transparency is a commodity, y'all. It is a rare commodity. Transparency, honesty, truthfulness, being, I've dealt with victims and perpetrators, as we all are, I believe. And when we stand on either side of the fence, we can appear to be one or both. Because all of us are. I don't know in what ways she's been a victim. In the way that I've kind of described to y'all what happened, she was absolutely a perpetrator. Violator. She's violated folks. And the other part to that is, I just have to think as a woman, there's a level of confidence, of level of honoring ourselves, our bodies, that we value if we have confidence and increased self-esteem, right? I can't imagine what she endured. I can't imagine her to these decisions. I can't imagine that. So I'm really speaking to the part that I know and read, which was, of course, his point of view, and his experience. And I don't know. And I think that's the unfortunate part about this whole experience was she had the opportunity to share that story and be honest, and she did not. She did not. We cannot make up for people why they made the decisions that they make, because whatever decisions are made still impact us. We have to only respond to what we have. We can't make up the story, right? But that's just, my perspective. Of course, she is accountable and brought this on. And she sure does need factual upfront reality. However, get into the root of lies and realizing the hurt she caused. Oh, I want to show some of y'all's feedback. I'm sorry. I thought I was doing that. I'm going to put some of those. Let me show the one I'm reading now. Sorry. But I think accountability starts with being truthful with ourselves. Being truthful with ourselves. And you're telling me 5 children later, you still haven't told the truth. 5 children later. The children didn't know that that wasn't their father. He didn't know that that wasn't their children. Like, whoo, that amount of pain, y'all. That amount of pain. That amount of pain is, I can't even imagine. I cannot even imagine. But we would have to have some very honest conversations. And I think the part that I'm actually most interested in is why she chose this for herself. Because there's a level of pain and anguish I would imagine one would experience and making these choices and having to cover these things up for all this long. It's hard, right? But I will say that the reasons why people make the decisions that they do is so complex. The things that people subject themselves to is complex. Because I have to say, I would have wanted to be a fly on the wall. What was happening in this marriage? What was happening in this marriage? What was happening? Y'all just thought y'all was good? He thought everything was good. He thought they had the best marriage ever. He literally wrote this. He thought they had the best marriage. Had no problems. They really didn't fight. He thought they had the best marriage. And y'all, hear me when I say this is how it goes down. It's not always that, oh, we were fighting and arguing and we were, there are folks that are really under the assumption that their marriage is straight. They good. Their relationship is good. It's straight. I'm not sure. I'm not, but do I believe that there are always like signs? Sure. For sure. Whether we willingly choose to ignore them or not, that's our choice. But there are always signs. Just in reading this gentleman's post, it was so evident because he talked about like once he got the excuse me, results. So for all of y'all who are tuning in, it was basically this guy that wrote a post, and I saw it earlier on YouTube being reviewed. Basically, this guy had been married to his wife for, I guess, 20, 30 years or so, and they have 5 children. Okay. He came to find out, if you want to like get the details, I told that in the beginning of the video, but he came to find out that all 5 of these children were not his, on top of the fact that they had 3 or 4 different fathers. Have 3 or 4 different fathers. None of these children are his. He was under the assumption that in his marriage that these children were his. When he asked his wife, she denied everything. She said that the genetic test or the DNA test that they did had to have been faulty. She's not saying anything. She won't talk about it. And that's that on that. They still, all of the 4 of the children are adults. 1 of the children are teenagers. And so, yeah. So if you're just tuning in, I wanted to catch you up. So let me be clear. Do people deal with cheating and stay in relationships for cheating every day, B? Yes, they do. You have a choice. You have a choice. I think of like if this couple came in to see me, I think my question would be, you know, can you recover? Can you recover? How invested are you in recovering? How invested are you in forgiveness? Because whether they stay together or not, that has to occur on everyone's end. She has to forgive herself for, doing this, and she has to endure the space in working through other people forgiving her, especially her children. He has to forgive himself for not being aware. Excuse me, not being aware enough. Jeez Louise. Not being aware enough, in tune enough, engaged enough. And then forgive her, for all that's transpired. And what do you do next? Because this is like family therapy, necessary 101. This has to happen. Like the whole family has to be seen. The whole family has to heal, regardless of what they choose to do in their marriage. They definitely have to heal as a family. All that trauma, all of that. Just imagine finding out at 20 something, trying to do a genetic test, ancestry test, that your father isn't yours, knowing you think he's the father of you and all 4 of your sisters or siblings, and your mom and dad have been married this whole time. How traumatic that was. Your life has changed forever. On top of the fact that then once mom is confronted, she denies everything. She will not fess up to any of it. It's hard to have compassion for someone who will not give it up and just be transparent. I can't tell y'all how often I work with people who really struggle with having compassion when folks just won't be straight up. People will actually be more willing to forgive you, be more willing to work with you, continue in a relationship with you, work through the relationship if you could just be straight up. If you could show some effort in doing something different. So, I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Y'all tell me. There's so many violations. It's just so many violations that it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate for all parties involved, but more unfortunate for her husband and her children. It is unfortunate. And it's unfortunate for her because she's possibly ruined the relationships she had with all parties involved. It will be tainted. It will never be the same. They could recover, they could forgive, they can move forward. It will never be the same. That's like a you lied to me my whole life kind of, how do you endure? I don't know. How do you endure? How do you endure? What are your absolute hell no's? What are your absolute hell no's? Y'all want to put those in the comments? What are your absolute hell no's? I would not be able to do this. If this happened, I'm gone. I got to go. I will not be able to endure. Because I'm going to tell you what, too. Sometimes we don't know what we can endure and what we will be able to come back from until it happens. Sometimes people think it's a one and done, and it's not necessarily. Physical abuse. Yep. What can y'all not come back from? If this happened in a relationship, I cannot come back from this. What are those things? What are hell no's? What are your hell no's in relationships? What does that look like? And speaking of, while y'all are putting that in the comments, next week, I think I need to make sure I put up my topic for next week. I want to try to get someone on we can have a dialogue on my live. So if you're on next Monday at 12 ST, if you're available, make sure you put in the comments that you are so we can bring you on and we can have a talk, right, about the topic. And I'm going to say that it should be posted later on this week, but I'll double check. What are hell no's? Can y'all throw those in the comments for me? What are your hell no's? Hell no. But today for this, what is a hell? Y'all, I got my churros on there. You have no idea. These churros are fire. Okay? Churros are one of my favorite delectable treats. A child that's conceived in the marriage that's not mine. That's a hell no for you. Hearing that. I get it. That's a hell no for me too. Extracurricular children. I know it's extramarital. I say extracurricular. You know what I mean? Okay? Extracurricular children. That's a no for me, dog. I was on that. That's a no for me. A no for me. That's a no for me. When you have to, that's one of those reminders like, yeah, that's yeah, that's a no for me. I get it. And let me just say, even things that are a no for me, I get why people stay. I get it. I respect it. I almost appreciate the ability to forgive and move forward in that fashion in those scenarios with stuff like, this. I ain't got it. I do not have it. I don't have it. Anyone else? Anything else that you absolutely are not willing to endure? Anything y'all can think of? There are just some hell knows that it's like, I could deal with a lot of shit. I could deal with you getting on my nerves. I could deal with not liking you sometimes. I could deal with you passing gas. I could deal with you, I could deal with some things. I could deal with I could deal with this. I could deal with that. But this is something I absolutely cannot deal with. Hell no. What are your hell no's? What are your hell no's? Because I will say too, sometimes our hell no's have changed relationship to relationship, especially as you learn. Those hell no's may become more evident, or as the longer you're in a relationship, you may develop the hell no's, where you're like, yeah, no, I'm not going to be able to continue to deal with this, or I'm not going to be able to deal with that. But I just wanted to come to y'all because it was such a powerful read for me. It had brought up so many things that I wanted to talk about. Y'all, we got to start being honest. I think that was the big takeaway for me, is being in relationships. The hardest thing, one of the hardest things I think there is to do, is be transparent and be honest. For so many reasons. We don't want our spouse to be angry with us. We don't want to hurt their feelings. We want to keep status quo. We, want to manage our feelings separately. There's so many motivations and benefits and reasons that we don't, just be transparent and honest. And, I hope that we find benefit to being transparent and honest. It's so necessary. It really does change the dynamics of the relationship. It allows there to be more space. It really does. And then I guess the other alternative to that is, if you can't be honest or transparent, is that something you're willing to endure? Are you willing to endure living a life of dishonesty with your spouse, where y'all are just happy with living in a facade? And some people are. Like, let me just believe that this is what this is, and I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. But I will tell you this, in every scenario that I've ever worked with anyone who has chosen that, the world will show you, opportunities will present themselves, and all of that will be tested as to whether that is still worth it or not. I'll just say that. This was more to me about transparency and honesty. And it starts with our individual selves first, right? Starts with us first. Do I want to be here? If I want to sleep with other people, why don't I just say that or exit? Why am I choosing to violate this person? Why am I choosing to violate my children? Why am I choosing to violate myself? First of all, who knows? But I think it starts with transparency, with us first. We got to be clear about us, awareness. We have to be aware. What are we looking for? Doing all this, what am I looking for? What am I not getting? What do I need? Being honest with us before it goes further. We don't have to create all of this. We could have made other choices. This would have been a very different discussion. This would have been a different discussion in various parts of the scenario, right? If they weren't married, if he was one of the fathers, if there's so many variables that would have changed this scenario. But I think transparency is what is clear to me, that is really the most valuable in my mind out of this. Oh, let me put this on. Understanding what marriage is key. It's not about love. It's so much more. There is neither. Absolutely. Love is not enough. It absolutely is not. Marriage is great. Relationships are great, but they are absolutely the least about love. Marriage is a contractual, legal, binding agreement. Contract. It is bigger than love. You can love someone and absolutely know, or it can absolutely not be for you. You can love them. Oh, those are the ones that are hardest to leave. The ones that you love so much because you want it to be what you think it is, or you want it to be what you hope it is. Love is a part of it. It's not all of it. It's not all of it. Because I want to be clear too. It's hard to show someone the love that they need from you or the way that they need it when you fail to love yourself in the way that you need or deserve it. So I want to start there. Just a little, I can deal with a lot, but 3 top hell no's. The child thing, being nasty, unclean, just all around filth, and someone who can't admit when they're wrong, can't stand excuses even when there's no need for one. I got it. Yeah, I got it. Hell, in marriage, you violate yourself, you violate me, for sure. I want to keep in mind though, y'all, like, we're all imperfect and shit happens. I think how well we tame the shit is what we're speaking about here. It's one thing for me to be in suffering and in pain and working on it and being transparent myself and, hey, Mary, maybe, I need to step away from this marriage, or, hey, I really want to go sleep with dude. You cool with that? Like, hey, there is a level of honesty and transparency I can have with me so that I can make different decisions. The level of awareness I have, I can make different decisions. If I'm being considerate of the possible consequences, I can make different decisions. But when I'm unaware, unwilling to be transparent, fearful, etc., 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 that creates other consequences and ripple effects, right? And it's hard. It just is. It just is. It just is, which is unfortunate. It just is. It's hard for all of us. It's hard for all of us. Any more hell no's? What are your hell no's? I cannot. Hell no's. If this happened in this marriage relationship, hell no. Well, maybe, and I want to ask y'all another question before we bounce. Could you bounce back from this? Would you be able to have compassion for her? Would you be able to acknowledge her feelings? Would you? Could you? Oh, I mean, could you stay even if you didn't get any answers? Could you stay if she continued to deny? Could you forgive her even if she did not take accountability? You can, but it'd be hard as hell. You could. Forgiveness is not for her, it's for you. But could you? Could you? Y'all, these relationships are hard as hell. These relationships are hard as hell. These relationships, love actually complicates the shit. Let's keep it a stack. Love complicates it. If this was just a contract, because I think about coming to work. With coming to work, it's a contract. I come to work, I do this job. In exchange, right? It's a transaction. In exchange, you provide me money that you agreed to if I perform these duties, right? Come home, I type my, if I'm a therapist, do therapy, whatever, right? There's a clear exchange. There's no love. There's no emotional investment. But when you have an emotional investment, that clouds shit up. It makes it very complex. It makes these transactions, right, really more complicated. Why do you think there are arranged marriages? There is a clear agreement and contract that has nothing to do with love. You're going to be the man, you're going to make money for us, you're going to provide for our children, you're going to make sure we have a roof, clothes, food, etc., etc. You're going to do XYZ. Well, you're the woman, you're going to produce children, you're going to take care of the house. It is the least bit about love, right? Shit starts getting complicated when we're in love and we're in lust and we have all these passionate feelings and we lose sight of the damn contract. I'm starting to look. I feel like I'm preaching. Let me chill. I'm chilling. Let me put up some of these comments. Yes. She has to take accountability first and foremost. With one, yes, but not all 5. Okay. Not taking accountability would be harder for me to get over than the actual act of. I have to agree with you on that. I think that would be it for me. Like I could. Yeah, they got to work together. They got a family. It's not like even if they decided to not to be together, they're never going to cross paths. They have a family together. They have 5 children that he's not walking away from. You know, he clearly said that these are my kids. I'm not leaving these kids. No, they are my children, regardless of what the results are. Love, it does. Whew. As Tina said, let's go. What she say? That's what she said. Love makes us believe that we're in some shit that we're not. Love creates this idea, right? That there's still not business involved. There's always business involved, right? There's always business. Love is this infinite power of like an exchange of spiritual, emotional connection, right? But you can have that. You don't have to have a relationship for that. I love my dog, Sir William Shakespeare, right? I love him. But we ain't married. Okay? I love, right? I love my mama. I love my daddy. I love my sisters. You can love people and you can have this intense spiritual connection with people that, listen, there can be people that you've loved in your past, ex-boyfriends, ex-girlfriends, however they identify, right? That doesn't mean that they're appropriate to be in a relationship with. A relationship is a transactional agreement. It's a contract. Both of y'all have committed to something. Love is a part of it, but it's most definitely not all of it. Y'all, I'm talking my shit. Yeah. Future topic. What is love? Let's do it. I'm writing it down right now. Thank you. What is love? Well, I like this one. What is love? Thank you, Charles. We're going to have this. What is love? I can't sing to save my life, but Music Soul Child can, and he said it good. A break agreement. We got to renegotiate her in the go. That's it. Y'all, listen. When I get folks in here, especially when there's been like violations, cheating, stuff like that, it really is about renegotiation. Are you willing to come back to the table? Are we done? Are we done here? But most times what I find is that people are trying to convince the other person to do what they need, and you can't make somebody do something they don't want to do, or they don't have the skills to do, or they don't know how to do, or you cannot make somebody do something. We only have the power to change ourselves. We only have the power to make decisions for ourselves. That's it. These round and round arguments that people have most times because we're trying to make somebody do something we believe they should do. Who even says they have the skills to do it or that they want to, even though they may love you? That ain't enough. Y'all don't get me on here talking crazy. Where is the love in this marriage? One mistake, but 5 facts. Listen, I think cheating is like a whole nother conversation. I think that we have to make space to openly talk about because that's usually a very triggering topic for folks. But I am going to make space to talk about cheating because I have I really want to process that. I'm writing a book on cheating. Hopefully be out by the end of the year. Make space for that. But it's different when you having children with other folks and you don't tell them, and that made this really complicated. Love isn't all of it, but that's why transparency is necessary for sure. You have to give someone the choice to be there, not take it away with your lies. You better talk. Say that. Her choices took his choices 100%. Now I tell y'all what, that is one of the things that I cannot, is when someone believes that they're powerful enough to take away my choices and uses that power against my vulnerability of not knowing that I had a choice. Excuse me. I hope that y'all follow me on that. But no, that's a no for me, dog. One thing I pray for the man is not to hold a grudge and to rise above, because I can see anyone dealing with this type of deceit can fall into some type of depression. Hopefully he can realize this can be a testimony to make him stronger once he's out of it. That you said some words. I just hope that he gets the gift of forgiveness. I hope that he doesn't lose consideration and compassion for women. Y'all, I need y'all to understand, for the women here and the men here, please tell me if I'm right, wrong on this. Men are very fragile and sensitive creatures amongst what we may believe about them. And when there is a level of violation that challenges the foundation of their belief and compassion and consideration for women, it can turn into some other shit. Because please believe, men are very fragile. And I'll speak specifically to our Black men, very fragile, beautiful, vulnerable beings. And when you take that vulnerability and that fragility and you abuse it, right? It could potentially trauma, right? Trauma. It could. We've experienced some of the ripple effects, right? With the guys we would call fuck boys and all of this stuff. And we just say, and then you find out, most of these folks, they loved and they believed and they had all this at one time. And then something happened, and not all folks can recover. Some folks can't recover in a way that it would be productive in other relationships. So I hope not for nothing that he's able to recover. I hope that he's able to recover. I hope that she's able to recover. I really do. Because this is hard. This is life. These are people. They're human beings, right? I hope they can recover. But y'all, against popular belief, men are fragile. They're very fragile. If you get past the ego and you get past the pride and you get past the physical appearance and you get past the words, right? And you get to what I call the translation. I'm coming out with some shit. It's going to be called the translation, and I'm serious. Because I do a lot of this with couples. I say translation, right? I translate, because that's what happens in relationships and marriages, right? Sometimes we speak in two different damn languages. Let me translate. Y'all, I'm talking my shit. Okay. But with men, when you can translate, right? You get the love, and you get the fear, and you get the vulnerability, and you get the beauty and the rawness and the peace and the joy and the love and the whoo. But what you got to do to get to that? Boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy. Especially when shit like this happens. But you got to get to it. All right. Any more questions? Any more comments? Anyone? In the meantime, while you're still commenting, share, like, subscribe, tell your friends, tag your friends. I appreciate y'all joining me. Y'all are fire. Like, this is such a fire dialogue. I appreciate y'all being engaged. I don't be wanting to get up here and just run my mouth. I really like to hear and see what y'all think so we can talk more about it. I absolutely do not believe in any way, shape, or form that I'm a know-it-all, that I have all the answers. I just provide my perspective, and I love hearing your beautiful voices and your perspective. So thank you so much for that. Any more comments? No? Well, if not, y'all, I appreciate y'all so much for tuning in. I'll be back Monday at 12 EST. Again, share, like, subscribe. If you haven't got my workbooks, get those. If you haven't checked out my podcast, Take This Shit Personal, check that out. If you haven't gone to my website to see all of this, make sure you do at the Mahogany Project, projk.com. Make sure you do that. Tag a friend, tag at least one friend, get some people involved, have them like and subscribe to the Barefoot Therapist page and the Barefoot group. To see y'all soon. Looks like now that it looks different now than it did in my day. All right. I want to share loves from my space to yours. Y'all take care.